Okay, good day to all. So we'll now be discussing the portion of Chapter 15 on Sarbanes-Oxley and IT governance that we have not discussed in classroom. So we will cover the disaster recovery plan and the IT outsourcing. Okay. So for the disaster recovery plan, we mentioned that the one of the domains of IT jargon calls it the computer operations. And one key concept there is that we need to protect the computer center or IT center. In this case, in AMV, it's the multimedia and the laboratory. So in case of disaster, there should be a plan to take care of the computer center. Okay? So it is a plan that we need to have before, during, after a disaster. So it should be complete. So mula simula hanggang dulo. It's like the one that we're doing, crisis management team should have a plan in case of disaster. What we're doing, like the earthquake drill, the fire drill, and any other drills, uh, are activities related with disaster recovery. Okay. So we need to have a duplicate facility. So, kumbaga sa atin, kumbaga yung evacuation center natin. There are three types: the empty shell, the one that part of the our you call this our choppy. So it's an empty shell. It's also called the cold site. So it's cold site or it's empty shell because you only have a building with no resources inside it, no hardware, software, just a building. So the problem with this one is, in case of a disaster, so you need to make arrangements with the hardware software providers. Of course, in case of disaster, madali yan, kaya medyo mahirap. But the good thing is for this one, it is less costly because you only need to have a building, either your own building or a building to be leased. Second is the Recovery Operations Center. So it is a completely equipped site, meaning usually it is handled by a third party, in which you already use this one. So the problem with this one is that it's quite costly compared to the empty shell because you need to pay a fee for the third party. But the hardware and software are already available. So meaning if in case of disaster, you can already continue, okay, compared to the empty shell in which you need to buy first your hardware software. But the problem with this one also is that it's shared by many companies. So if there is a area-wide disaster and all of the companies within that area are affected, so you have to compete for the resources for the ROC. And last is internally provided backup. Usually this is done by large companies which have uh, many available areas or facilities in which they can mirror their facility, meaning they can have an excess building or facility in which there is a hardware software. It's a redundant area wherein in case of a problem or disaster in their main area, they can transfer to that area and they can easily operate. So internally provided backup, it's the difference with the ROC is that all the facilities are owned by the company for internally provided backup. But for ROC, it's provided by the third party. You just pay for the fee. Okay, for critical applications, the main thing is that what is critical are those needed for short-term survival. So take note of the systems that are needed for short-term survival, uh, which are related with cash flow. So meaning all the systems or items related with your cash, your purchase or inventory, take note of that. Those are critical applications. Applications that are not needed immediately, like for example, applications for payroll or for fixed assets or for GL for recording, are not part of our critical applications. Okay. We continue on DRP. So for the files, so the backup should be on the files, so documentation, supplies, and source documents. For the files, the best practice it's daily. So it's not weekly, it's not monthly, it's not quarterly. It should be daily. Okay. For the disaster recovery team, of course, they should be competent in their areas assigned to them. So in the next slide, we will show you the areas or the teams or the assignments for each committee for disaster. testing should be done periodically. For experience, I have an actual experience of doing a test of the RP. So best practice, it should be annual. Okay. So DRP is a plan. So a plan should be doable, feasible. So how is it done? So there should be tests that can be done. So what you can do here is that you can interview or ask for the documentation of the results of the tests, and it will be enough. Okay, evidence. And for the objective, our objective is, of course, the plan is sufficient, adequate, and it is doable. Okay. Probably the plan is really good, but it is not feasible or doable, so it is not effective. So how do you do that? So evaluate adequacy of the backup site arrangement. Probably, if you can see the site, that's good. But if not, you can just at least the good thing about, or the thing when you do tests of the IT controls, is that at least you have asked or you've interviewed the person. Okay, and he or she mentioned something about the one that you're asking. Okay, for this, you can inquire the if there is a backup arrangement, if there's documentation for the list, so you can get the list. So see to it that the list includes those related again with cash flow, with purchase and sales. Backup procedures, you look at it. It should be done on a daily basis, and usually it should be placed offsite. Okay, and verify members of the disaster recovery team. You can see here the org chart of the DRP team. So it's composed of the second site backup. So they take care of the facility. As you can see in the objective, so prepare backup site for operation and acquire hardware from vendors. The second team is for the programming and data backup too. So you program the applications, back up the files. So that's why, as you can see, most of the members of the team are those in the development. Okay, so the objective is provide the latest version of the critical applications. Okay, and then the files and documentation needed. And the last is the data conversion or control group. Basically, they're the ones in the operation side. Okay, so they are the ones translating the hard copy to soft copy. So the encoding, the conversion. So the objective is to establish data conversion, data control functions, okay, to process applications. As you can see here, very important is the role of the internal auditor or internal audit on both the second and the third groups, because they ensure that the processes are uh, done accordingly in case of disaster, and of course controls are also in place. However, take note of this one. In case of emergency, some of the controls are or may be sacrificed. Meaning, specifically on SOD, uh, tasks that are incompatible in a normal situation may be combined in case of disaster. Because take note that in case of disaster, the first goal is short-term survival. That's it. So at times you can sacrifice that. Okay? The normal controls or the traditional controls. The second part of our discussion is on outsourcing the IT function. So there are various activities that can be outsourced by the company. Usually, those that do not pertain to the core areas of the company. One is IT. Actually, another one is accounting also. That's why we have accounting services. And most commonly in BPOs, the customer service, okay, or the help desk. Usually when we outsource, we follow the competency rather, sorry, core competency theory. It means that the company will retain its core areas, core activities, but outsource the non-core areas like IT. Usually, what are the core areas? Of course, it should be operations, at times sales, because there are strategic sales activities by the company. At times also marketing, because you have a specific marketing activity, although there are third-party marketing providers. Okay? Of course, R&D, it should be a core area which should not be outsourced by the company. Um, Commodity IT assets. So basically, this is part of another theory which will be discussed in the latter part of the slide. Okay. In the core competency theory, IT is considered as non-core, so that it should be outsourced. But another theory, so I'll show it to you. Okay. So we have the transaction cost economics theory, which is in conflict with the core competency theory because the TCE states that for IT, not all IT aspects or services or functions are um, non-core or not that important. So these are subdivided into two. We have commodity IT assets and specific IT assets. Commodity IT assets are IT assets or aspects which are non-core, meaning they are not essential to the company, so can be outsourced, like the network management. We say network, the communication lines, the topics about LAN or WAN, local area network or wide area network, like help functions. It's like with a customer service for other companies. They can be outsourced, but IT aspects specific to the company or unique to the organization um, should be retained. Usually, example of this one, in relation to companies about R&D or product development is the systems development. Usually, that's an core IT. So the TCE states that you should retain specific IT assets in-house and outsource the commodity assets, which is in contrast with core competency, in which the core competency states that all IT assets, either commodity or specific assets, should be outsourced. An important aspect of the outsourcing the IT function are the risks inherent to this. Failure to perform by the vendor. If the vendor does not perform, the one that to whom you outsource the IT, then it may affect your performance, specifically if you're an automated company. Vendor exploitation. Because you're dependent to your vendor, they may increase the fees that you pay every year. Cost exceeds benefits, meaning when you outsource, it's better if you have not outsourced your IT. Due security, because of privacy, because you will be outsourcing information processed by the company, so privacy is affected. Loss of strategic advantage. At times, your business strategy is connected with your IT strategy. Since your IT strategy is outsourced, so some of the uh, aspects of the strategy are affected when you outsource because you cannot control. You have no sole control of your IT activities. That's why it may be a loss of your strategic advantage. Audit implications of IT outsourcing. So you can outsource your activities, IT activities, but not the management responsibility. So meaning even if you outsource your IT, you're still accountable to that. Okay, under SOX, which is a very important law, which makes audit more difficult. That's why we have this SSAE, okay, or the Statement on Standards for Attestation and Engagements number 16. Actually, it superseded the well-known standard before SAS 70. If I'm not mistaken, it's Statement on Auditing Standards number 70, which when I was in the auditing firm PwC, I've heard this SAS 70 report, and now it's the SSAE 16 report. Basically, what does this standard or this report uh, say? Okay, so it specifically states that this report should be done by the vendor's auditor so that the client's auditor can rely to the IT activities and controls that were outsourced. So I will show you a diagram later so that you can fully understand this one. So the point here is that um, okay. So before I go to the diagram, so basically the point here is that the vendor to whom the IT service is outsourced uh, should be audited by its auditor, and the auditor should prepare a report, which is SSAE, for the benefit of the uh, clients of the vendor. So there are two types of report. The first type is type 1, so it just mentions the description of the control. In type 2, in addition to the description of the control, there should be testing. So the effectiveness of the control should be included. Okay, next slide. As you can see here, for example, so So for example, our client is this one. Oops, sorry. That is San Miguel Corporation. And then, so this is SMC. SMC. Okay. And then the auditor of SMC, for example, is SGV. SGV. Sorry, it's difficult to, I'm just using mouse. So, SMC outsource its IT to a vendor. For example, this is HP. Okay? So HP is now doing the IT services of SMC. However, since SMC is still has the responsibility for the IT, for the management of the IT resources or the control, so SGV should look at the controls of HP. However, if HP has many clients like clients 2, 3, and 4, meaning their auditors will do the audit of their control. So to ease that problem, so for example, the HP's auditor, for example, is PwC. So what will PwC do? Since the HP is a servicing company, PwC will prepare a SAS 70 report about the controls of HP, and then HP will give this SAE 16 report to all its clients, including SMC. And then SMC will give the SSAE report to SGV so that SGV can assess the controls, the controls, the design, and the effectiveness of controls of um, HP. Okay, since SMC outsourced their IT services to HP. Okay, so that's it.